So it's just going to be silent for a while.
Yes.
Stream.
They could probably hear
Fun.
us talking, to be fair now, but still. uh, Hang on, I need to see if we're live. There we are. Right, pop the link in. There we go. Good evening, everyone, and welcome along to WOR. We are here for F122. It is the PS tier, of course. It's Tier 1. It is Season 13, round number 7 of the Championship, as we take in the Canadian Grand Prix, of course, from the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. My name is James Head, going to be taking to the stream in the old-fashioned way tonight. My OBS has decided to pack up, unfortunately, so you are stuck with me and my commentator alongside me in the comment box always. It is Mr. Commentalist. Commentalist, how you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you. Yeah, it's a bit weird being in a PlayStation party nowadays, isn't it? We're always usually streaming through OBS and on Discord. I think this is the first time I've been in a PS party in any capacity for like 2 months now, so it's a very weird experience. But either way, technology not being our friend today, and neither is the weather, unfortunately. So it's, yeah, not been a great day outside, but at least today it looks like it could be a really, really good race at WR, and we've had such a great season so far, and we come to a really good track in Canada as well, so I'm really looking forward to tonight.
Yeah, really looking forward to tonight indeed. Looking through the championship standings, even though, just imagine them we're showing you in the normal way in terms of us being in the commentary box on OBS. Running through the drivers' standings, Rowan leading the way on 81 points. Big news though, he's not here tonight once again, so that means the drivers in second and third can obviously close in, and those drivers in second and third are Namaya in second on 68. Great performance from him, of course, last week. Jensen there in third on 65. Little bit coming back to his best, I think, last week. Obviously picked up a podium. Cowfrey is there in fourth on 56. Then a Rocker in fifth on 42. Krypton in sixth on 35. Tom seventh on 32. Denzo in eighth on 29. Axel there in ninth on 25, along with Kazizel also in ninth, also on those 25 points, tied, of course, for that ninth position. Rowan leading the way, though, over Namai. It's 13 points the gap coming into tonight, and obviously, Rowan not being here gives an open goal opportunity for both Namai and Jensen to try and obviously do something with that on track.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity, like you say, for them. And last time we saw this when Rowan wasn't here, we had, I believe it was Silverstone race when Rowan wasn't here and Jensen was leading the way before he made a mistake and ultimately cost himself the victory. So I think Jensen may be a little bit himself, maybe a little bit frightened by the prospect of this potentially repeating itself. But yeah, another open goal for them to try and shoot into. And Namaya as well is a great opportunity for him. Namaya's kind of snuck up a little bit in this championship, hasn't he? He didn't get off to the most amazing starts. He was consistently scoring points or so, but he's kind of risen to the top in recent weeks, and he's been doing a really, really good job. So it's nice to see him up at the top, and nice to see a third competitor for the title, because for the very opening parts of the season, it did like it was Rowan and Jensen running away with things. So yeah, nice to see Namaya up there, and a great opportunity for him to be leading the championship after tonight.
Yeah, definitely so, and obviously we're going to be seeing some really good action, of course, out on track here in Canada. Normally, we would take you through a track map at this point. I know the track, though. 4.3 kilometres, then 2.7 mile. Of course, the 18 turns. I think it's 18. No, it's not 18 turns, is it? It's about 15 turns, I think. And do you know what? I'll just show you it on the track select. There we go. There's Canada. 4.3 kilometres, then 2.7 mile. 14 turns away from our drivers out on track. Of course, here in Montreal, around a man-made island, of course, at the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, just on the outskirts of the city of Montreal. Says it's an easy track difficulty, by far from it, I think, coming into tonight, though.
Yeah, it's on paper, at least if you look at a track map without any context of knowing the circuit, it looks fairly simple, but because it is kind of that mix now that we see quite often on the F1 calendar between permanent and street circuit. It's quite deceivingly difficult. The walls are very, very close. It's very fast chicanes. You carry a lot of speed through the chicanes around this track. There's not really many slow corners apart from turn 10. Even turn 2 is not particularly slow for a hairpin. So it's a very, very fast track. The lap is over very quickly, and because there's so many quick changes of direction, it is very easy to lose the car and spin out. So yeah, it's on paper it looks easy, but in reality it is a very difficult track, and it is why it is. I think for a lot of drivers, people love the challenge, but I would say for probably the majority of the drivers, they find this track pretty difficult to get to terms with.
Yeah, definitely so. Somebody in the comment section, by the way, I've just translated this comment, and it's rather obscene, to be honest, actually, but I'm still going to say it anyways. Emanuele there in the chat saying, start Porcodillo. Porcodillo meaning swine god. Don't think any of us is a swine god, to be honest, and to be honest, I don't think we really care if we are. And if you do want to put a comment in like that, obviously, then honestly, you're entitled to your opinion. We're here to do one job and one job only, and that is to commentate. And if you don't like it, tune out. Simple as that. 15 drivers, of course, out on track here in WOR. I think we've got 16. We're due to have 16, at least in terms of the racing out on track tonight. 35 laps, although, awaiting the drivers. Looking at the... I did have the standings up for a second there. Hang on. The constructor standings is as follows. 91 points for Red Bull leading the way, with Rowan and Harry, of course, being the main Red Bull drivers. Ferrari in second on 70, Aston Martin in third on 68, McLaren in fourth on 67, Haas there in fifth on 42, Alfa Romeo in sixth on 41, Mercedes seventh on 40, and then we've got a whole host of blues towards the bottom end of the standings. Alpine there in eighth on 30, Williams in ninth on 19, and AlphaTauri there in 10th on 0 points. Nathan Clark and TF Rowan so far haven't scored any points for the AlphaTauri team. I don't think they will either, because both of them are being reserves again tonight, with Asakum and Aquila coming into the lineup there for AlphaTauri. Red Bull leading the constructors standings, Aiden, coming into tonight. Ferrari 21 points behind. Again, a bit of an open goal, given that Harry is the only Red Bull at the moment.
Yeah, at the moment, only Red Bull, like you say, it's open goal, but again, Jensen at the moment seems to be the only Ferrari, so they're kind of both on the back foot, so it's a case of trying to see which one can really do the best at coming into tonight, which out of the two teams is going to be the stronger. So yeah, we'll definitely keep an eye on what they are able to do, but yeah, it's kind of it's a shame really, isn't it, that we're not getting the full kind of proper battle out in the manufacturers at the moment, because not both drivers are really showing up on a common occasion. So yeah, a little bit of a shame that we're lacking in that sense, but still opportunities for Jensen to try and get Ferrari a little bit closer back in the championship as well. One of the teams as well to try and rise up to the top. Like I say, it's a bit of a sea of blue at the bottom of the standings at the moment. I'm sure there's lots of teams, especially like I say AlphaTauri, that want to score more points, but they can't because they've got reserves in tonight. But I would say AlphaTauri, if the reserves were able to score points towards the manufacturer's title, AlphaTauri would probably be doing quite well right now, because Aquila's been in the championship, I think, for 4 rounds now, and he's done very well in all 3 that he's competed in so far. Now this is his 4th, so yeah, it's kind of a shame that they can't score points, because AlphaTauri would be a lot higher if they could.
Yeah, definitely. So I think, honestly, it is a real shame in that respect, but obviously we still have to commentate on them out on track. Of course, Asakun, we all know about him. Of course, the other OP man. Aquila there, the other AlphaTauri man as well. As you say, Aiden has been really, really good since obviously making that step up from Tier 2 up to Tier 1. Of course, Tier 2's normally run on Thursday. I don't think they've been getting streamed recently. Just an update, by the way, on when we are going to be starting. We are just waiting for one driver to come in. In fact, actually, just telling that, Jensen has just decided to let everyone to ready up. So we can now ready up, and it means we're going to be getting out on track very soon indeed. Qualifying predictions, please, in the comments section as well. We'll read them out, of course, as we go along. And as we said at the start of the stream, my OBS packed up, so we can't run any of the fancy stuff, which means no fancy graphics and no fancy advertisements, of course, from our sponsor, Grid Finder, and of course the Season 13 trailer that you've all become too used to in the past as well. But Canada obviously is going to be a track of trials and tribulations, I think, tonight. Obviously, Rowan is missing. Jensen and Amaya full scoring. Anybody else that could take your eye, I think, coming in tonight? Because I think Frankie might be an open goal for pole position as well.
Yeah, there's definitely quite a few people we've got to look out for tonight. Like I say, I've already mentioned Akilo's done really well since moving up from the second tier. Like you mentioned as well, he's going to be one to look out for. Karafalidis on many occasions has shown really, really good speed this season, but hasn't quite been able to get every result that he would possibly want, which is why he's now down in fourth in the championship when he was fighting for the lead of the championship a few rounds ago. So hopefully this could be the start of a bit of a re-emergence maybe for Karafalidis in that McLaren. And the other one I've got my eye on is Steph in the Alpine tonight. He is definitely going to be someone that will be featuring at the front of the field. He's reserved, I believe, a couple of times this season. He's looked pretty strong. He's looked pretty good in race pace conditions. Maybe same as Karafalidis, maybe not quite got the results together that he would have wanted, but Steph has definitely got the speed. So those are kind of the three, I would say. Akila, Steph and Karafalidis are the other ones to look out for.
Yeah, we've got a couple of new drivers in as well, or at least one new driver that is in. Jeff Levin, who I think may be a new Tier 2 driver, or certainly a Tier 2 driver at the moment in time, making a step up in towards Division 1. To be honest, I haven't commentated on him in my life, and I'm sure Aiden will probably say the same thing as well. How do you rate his chances, though, coming into tonight off basically what he's done in Tier 2? Because he has been up there in a few races this season. Oh, and it's full wet conditions.
Oh, lovely. We've got loads of wet qualifying to start things off, so as if the track couldn't be any more difficult, we put them straight into wet conditions. I'm sure they're going to love that. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how Jeff Levin can do, I would say. I mean, usually you would say moving up from Tier 2 to Tier 1 is maybe a little bit too much of a step for some people, and it can be quite difficult, but we've already seen Akila's prove that wrong. He's done a really good job moving up from this division, and because we've only got 15 drivers tonight rather than the full 20 that we're used to, maybe a little bit more of an easier settling in period here for Jeff to move up. It's maybe not as daunting as it would have been if we did have a full grid. So I'd say tonight maybe isn't about showing off his raw speed. It's just more about getting into the swing of things, seeing how everybody in the top tier operates, and then trying to build that pace from there. So I wouldn't say that we're going to see him lighting up the timing boards in any sort of way, unless he does pull out an absolutely stunning result. But I would say you would expect the same from him as we've seen from Akila, where he's just betting himself into Tier 1, and he could spring a surprise at some point, maybe tonight or maybe a little bit later in the season.
As actually, Jeff is the first man out on track, and he's just nearly spun coming through turn number 3 and 4. Doesn't want to be starting the night off like that. He is the first man out on track, though. Obviously going to be getting used to the conditions out on track, and obviously with it being intermediate conditions, we can only assume that it is going to be dry in the race as well. So that means drivers are now going to decide basically what setup to go on, whether to go full wet setup in this qualifying session, and then obviously lose the speed in the race, or go for full dry setup, or go for a little bit of half-y-half. I think, honestly, we'll be seeing majority of the drivers going dry setup, and obviously if it's dry in the race, they will come alive, I think, better off in the race compared to here in qualifying. As that's to come now as the first man out on track, and Karafalidis, Smalley, I think, has just gone on straight at the hairpin.
Yeah, it was very reminiscent of, I believe it was Hamilton in 2017, wasn't it, when they had a wet qualifying in Canada, a wet practice session. He went out in the intermediates and just aquaplaned off at turn 10. That almost looks identical to that little mistake he made. But yeah, like you say, if it is a dry race, you would expect the majority of this field to be on a dry setup for the race, just simply because there is the opportunity to run a two-stop at this track and still be competitive, so overtaking is going to be a big part of it. And if you're too slow in a straight line and you've compromised on the straight line speed to go for the cornering in the wet in these conditions, you're just going to be a sitting duck on the many straights that we've got here. So they've got to go for something that's aimed towards the dry.
Yeah, definitely. So Asacom coming through the right-hand of turn number 3 through turn number 4, famously where, it's just invalidated through turn number 4, but famously where, of course, Hamilton and Vettel had nearly had their moment in 2018. It was a 22.6 in the first sector from him. Smalley as well is on a lap. He's the next man. He's actually valid through the first sector, so 22.9 through the first sector there. But Smalley will just turn off the timing tower on the left-hand side. I promise I will put it on at the end of this lap once again. Smalley on the run down, though, in towards the chicane of turn 7 and 8. And this is very tricky in terms of the track, as proven there by that braking zone, and towards turn number 8, Smalley nearly locking up, going over the curb. It is very easy to lock up around here, and already around 9 seconds slower than what we should be seeing in the drive through that middle sector. I've seen 40.9s in the middle sector, 48.9 there from Smalley, nearly 9 seconds down though on his time at this moment in terms of dry to wet period. As now Smalley now comes down in towards the WOR Champion chicane. It turns 13 and 14. Hill, Villeneuve and Schumacher, famously in 1998, all crashed in one qualifying session around here, and that's why it's given its name the Wall of Champions, as Smalley nearly hit the Wall of Champions himself. Coming through the final corner on the run to the line, it's a 1:20.5 to start off the night. I think, though, should be seeing lap times maybe going 2 seconds quicker than that, I think.
Yeah, you would expect times to probably be in the 18s, I would say, and then of course it depends on whether the track dries up or not if we get anything faster. And Amaya's dipped under the 20s into a 1 minute 19.9 for the Aston Martin driver. Steph goes into P2. Was on board with Jeff there on his lap as well. He lost pretty much all of his time in the first sector. He had a massive snap of oversteer, and now he's just going again for another lap, but he's hit the wall coming out of turn number 4 that time around. And that's one thing we'll see as well in this qualifying session, is a lot of drivers fueled up to do multiple runs on the intermediate tyre, because you don't really necessarily get the best performance out of the intermediate tyre on the first lap. They take a while to bed in. It takes a while for yourself as well to bed into the wet conditions. So we'll see a lot of drivers do multiple laps on the same set of tyres in this session, which is why you're seeing drivers not slow down to come back into the pit lane. I'm just keeping an eye on who's on a lap at the moment. Frankie coming to the end of a lap in the Alfa Romeo. He is the only one left not to at least cross the line at the end of a lap, apart from Harry, who's not been out onto the track yet. But we've had 4 drivers cross the line. 5 drivers, cross the line and not set a valid lap time. Frankie crosses the line and goes immediately to the top of the timesheet. So at the moment, at least, after the first few laps in qualifying, your prediction's looking pretty good for Frankie.
It is looking pretty good for Frankie. I might know he's actually quite good around here in the wet, which is, I think, I did say, by the way, at the end of this, the start of this qualifying session, that I don't really predict the future, and I'm just going to say that on record now. I really don't predict the future. Frankie out on top, Namaya in second, Steph there in third. Asakuma done this next lap invalidated. Krypton the same. He was coming through the wall of Champion Chicane, invalidated, and Jake Marsh, of course, who picked up his second round of points in PSGL actually on Monday in F2. I think he's got the left side end plate damage potentially on the car, so I'm not sure if he had a moment there in the wall as Jensen now goes second. A 19.8, much better there from Jensen from the Tifosi man. 400th of a second, of course, the season 12 champion off the back of Frankie at this stage. Namaya there in third, and Kaufalidis there coming to the top with a 119.5. Of course, the Greek man looking to try and get a bit of retribution for last week.
Wow.
Tim now goes quickest with a 19 flat, and where did that lap come from? Because that's 5 tenths quicker than Kaufalidis.
That's a brilliant lap from Tim. I was saying that it could be into the 18s. I didn't expect to be that close to the 18s that quickly. Is that just a case of the track is ramping up in pace, or are we just starting to see drivers get comfortable with the conditions? But yeah, brilliant lap from Tim to go over half a second clear of the rest of the field at the moment. That is a very strong lap. So yeah, not bad there from the Alpine driver. Really, really good start to the session for them. Just seeing who else is on the lap. Frankie's done another cool down and is going to go again on this next lap. So he's just giving himself a little bit of breather to save up some ERS and cool the tyres down just that little bit before he starts his next run. Asakome really struggling to set a valid lap at the moment. That's another invalidated time for Asakome as Smalley now goes into third position in the McLaren on a 19.6. That's a pretty hefty improvement over their first run. So that kind of suggests to me that the track is getting faster. It doesn't seem to be drying out that much, but maybe there's just a little bit more grip coming for these drivers, and it's just making that track a little bit better for themselves in this session. Whether it will dry out completely, we're not quite sure, but yeah, the track is definitely looking faster. Line Violet on a good middle sector there in the Williams car, so he's looking to try and set his first valid lap time in the session, and yeah, I think the track is just starting to ramp up a little bit.
Yeah, Kaufalidis I was on board with there towards the end of his lap. He only improved 900th of a second. He was 2.5 tenths up out of the middle sector, so really lost a lot of time coming to the wall of Champion Chicane. Frankie, as you were saying, on a lap as well. He's actually down a lap at this stage. Jensen as well has just gone off to turn number 1 as Jerry has managed to join the session, which is good. So up to 16 drivers, but Jensen cutting through turn number 1 like Perez and Massa famously collided there. I think it's been 2016. Am I tempted to say 2015? 14. Goodness me, I'm old.
It feels like an age ago, doesn't it? That was 8 years ago. Wow, that's absolutely crazy that was 8 years ago. But yeah, seeing what other drivers are doing on the lap, Frankie's backed off again. So yeah, just not maybe quite getting the confidence to go for a second run at the moment on these tyres. Just seeing who else is on lap. Line Violet did go 5th, by the way, so into the top 5 for the Williams driver, and that's kind of the highest we've seen Line Violet all season long. As there we go, there is Asakome. That's kind of what you expect from Asakome in a qualifying session, isn't it? That is a brilliant lap time. It took him 4 attempts to get a valid lap on the board, but when he did get one on the board, it was sensational, and he's now gone half a second clear of the field. So usually in a qualifying session we see the gaps under a second usually covering the whole field. At the moment, a second covers the top 3 in this qualifying session, so you can maybe tell who has and who hasn't done a little bit of wet practice in this qualifying session, because Asakome and Tim at the moment are country miles ahead of the rest of the field.
Yeah, Asicom really impressive in terms of his lap time. Only rode on board with his final couple of corners there, but it was really, really clean and crisp, I think, coming through the wall of Champion Chicane. That's why he's out on top, and that's why it's an 18.5. But the point that I'm going to bring up now is obviously track evolution is going to be really key in this session. We've seen a majority of drivers going on more laps on their compounder tyre. Frankie as well, 2/10 up in the middle sector, 48 flat through the middle sector. He's another one that's going for another run, but now drivers are potentially going to go for those fresh set of inters. Frankie's going to come back in the pit lane. Everyone's now going to go for a fresh set of inters. The rain looks like it's easy now on track as well, so I think the track evolution, if not, is probably going to be better on fresher inters now compared to the older inters that we're seeing at the start of this session.
Yeah, that definitely is going to be the case, but the problem with that is always you don't want to go on to a fresh set of intermediates too early in the session and then miss out on the best conditions at the very end. By the way, Harry's coming to the end of lap in that Red Bull. It's looked very good so far on board, and he will go into P3 just behind Tim, so a good lap there from Harry in the Red Bull car, his first lap in the session. But yeah, like you're saying, track evolution, of course, the track is going to get faster, but you don't want to commit to a fresh set of intermediates too early in the session and then lose out at the end of the session when the track is at its very best. So that's kind of the double-edged sword these drivers are going to have to go with. I think if I were them, I would stay out on the old set a little bit longer and then give yourself a bit more time. But we're seeing in the pit lane, Jensen's switching to the softs, in the pit lane at least, that is. So that suggests to me that we could see dry conditions at the end of this qualifying session. I mean, the rain has eased off to a point where it's pretty much completely gone now. So yeah, I think we're potentially going to be seeing dry tyres towards the end of the session. Right now, you can tell it's not ready for dries, but if it does dry out by the end of the session, it could be a case of whoever is last across the line.
Yeah, rain stopped. I think Nemaya, though, was on an absolute huge lap here at the 19.9 currently. Hope he doesn't come in the pit lane, because this is going to be pole position. Coming to the wall of Champion Chicane, hits the wall on the right-hand side. This is going to be better than Asicom's lap time, though, on the run to the line. Nemaya with an 18.2 and a slight mistake at the final corner, and he now says to Asicom, how do you like them apples? And Asicom is responding, 47.2 again in the middle sector. Same on power in terms of Nemaya's middle sector, and Asicom now is coming towards the middle, towards the final couple of corners, through the wall of Champion Chicane. A little bit slower than Nemaya coming through there, and I think that's cost him on the run to the line from the AlphaTauri man. No, he goes quickest, and I think that tap of the wall really cost, but Nemaya immediately fastest first sector, 22.1. This session is now kicking off big time.
It is, and yeah, I was just on board with Tim as well. Tim would have gone fastest, but he invalidated at the final corner of that, which has obviously invalidated his next lap, but he did an 18 flat on that lap, so it's getting faster as this track is going up. The pace is really ramping up. Aquila now goes third in the AlphaTauri, manages to find 4.5 seconds on his previous personal best, so the track is really ramping up at this point in the session. And just seeing who else is on a lap at the moment then, who is coming towards the end of one. Nemaya is still improving on their lap. We'll see them through the final chicane. Can he keep it a bit cleaner this time around, or is he going to dive into the pit lane? We're still not close enough yet for Slick, so you want to be out there setting lap times in case it doesn't quite dry out. For the end of the session, he hits the wall again, this time with the rear of the car more than the front of it, crosses the line. Wow. And it's an 18 flat, so he goes even faster in that final sector and back to the top of the timesheet. Seeing who else is on a lap at the moment, Jake Marsh has just gone 6th in the Mercedes. Kryptonite's now gone 3rd in the other Mercedes. Aquila's improving on their lap in the first sector. Just going to see them through the middle part of the lap. Are they improving more? Yeah, they are. Nearly 0.4 of a second up is Aquila in 5th, so he could be challenging his teammate Asicom for the front row position at the moment if he completes this lap. So yeah, the track is getting faster and faster and faster. I mean, Frankie, for goodness sake, in 10th is 6/10 up in the first sector alone.
Yeah, huge first sector from Frankie. He's now coming, Aquila now coming through into the wall of Champion Chicane, but the rain has stopped now out on track. The rain is not falling, therefore the track is going to improve. It might be the last person across the line will get pole position. Aquila on a huge lap here, goes 3rd with an 18.166, and he's a tier 2 driver, by the way, and he's just put it 11/100ths of a second behind Asicom. He's really buoyed by that performance, I think. Krypton up in the middle sector, 4/10 up, and quicker than Nemaya's middle sector as well. So Krypton is on a very good lap here. Frankie, as you mentioned, coming towards the end of his lap as well on the Alfa Romeo. I don't think he's really doing that much, though, coming into the wall of Champion Chicane through the left-hander now, 14 on the run to the line. Do you know what? Might be about to eat my own words as Frankie runs to the line, goes 4th in the end. Krypton, though, on a huge lap, 4/10 up, coming out the final corner. That was beautiful through the wall of Champion Chicane. And Krypton maybe ending up like dynamite at the top end of the standing, but not quite. It's an 18.3. Nemaya out on top, Asicom in 2nd, Aquila in 3rd, and we're still yet to get to dry conditions.
Yeah, so yet to get to dry conditions, Harry's going to be next across the line in the Red Bull, currently P9 on the grid, but he's made a mistake somewhere on that lap and has backed off, so he's going to go again for another run in that Red Bull. The one problem here, these drivers are improving. Wow, what a lap from Tim. Blimey, that is a heck of a lap. 1:17.1 to go 9/10 of a second clear at the top of the timesheets. Your prediction for Tim is looking great. He is on fire at the moment in this qualifying session. The one thing I worry about here, there's only 4 minutes left, so there's only 4 minutes left in this session. Yes, the track is drying out, but if you look visually at the circuit, this is nowhere near dry tyres yet. There's still water on the side of the track. We're not seeing DRS be enabled yet. We're not really, I would say, that close to slick conditions at the moment. It's not far away, but is it 2 minutes far away or is it 5 minutes far away? We've got people like a Rocker and Jensen and Steph who are just sitting in the pit lane waiting for the dry conditions, and at the moment they've not arrived. So they're either making a mistake by not being out on the intermediates and doing laps, or they're just going to take the risk and try and go for it. But if Jensen wants to take the risk, that is his prerogative. The problem is at the moment is if he takes the risk and it doesn't pay off, Namaya's on the front row and he's down in 12th. So it's a big risk to play. If I were Jensen, I would still be out there on the track right now setting laps on the intermediate tyres, even if it was null and void by the end of the session, because in that way you don't cost yourself if the gamble doesn't pay off. As here comes Harry to the line and he goes into second, just 1/10 of a second behind Tim and 8/10 clear of Namaya in third. So great lap there from Harry. Yeah, they're cutting it fine. Those that are staying in for the slick tyres, they're cutting it very fine, and it doesn't look like we're close to slick tyres yet.
Yeah, Line Violet selected dries there in the pit lane as well. Namaya currently on a set of inters. I have got it on the current tyre that everyone's on. In fact, a Rocker has just switched back to his older set of intermediate compounded tyres. Jeff going on to a set of soft compounded tyres. I don't think Jeff will probably recommend that, to be honest. You seen something?
Assecomb's first sector, my oh my, 8/10 up on his personal best in the first sector alone. Wow. That is a massive first sector from Assecomb, so we'll probably keep on board with him for the rest of this lap because this could be a mega lap. 2 minutes left in the session, so now those that are staying in for the slicks will only get one run in on the slicks at this point in the session, and it still doesn't look dry enough. Look at 1.1 up now. Is Assecomb. This is a mega lap from the AlphaTauri driver. He's just got to keep it clean and valid in this final chicane, and this could be into the 16s now. This track has really ramped up in the last few minutes or so. Harry's hopefully recognised that Assecomb behind him is on a lap. Harry, you're going to have to move out the way here, mate. We've got AlphaTauri right behind you. That was silly. That was really, really silly from Harry there. We had the whole straight to recognise that Assecomb was coming, and he just completely ignored the signs, and that is an amazing lap from Assecomb. And honestly, almost a definite pole position lap there for Assecomb, completely ruined.
Yep, and it's the second week in the row that Harry has caused an incident like that, so clearly wing mirrors, or extended wing mirrors I should say, are certainly needed on that Red Bull. Tim there out on top, Harry there in second, Namaya there in third, Assecomb now, Nathan Clark there in the chat saying it's an easy penalty. Yeah, I can hardly but agree myself with that comment. I think it's an absolute assured penalty there from Harry. It's so unfortunate, to be honest. Obviously, wasn't aware of Assecomb coming towards him. He had the hold straight, and he had a good, I would say, 10-second period to actually recognise that he was coming towards him and moving on to the right-hand side. But then again, I said this with Logan last week, because obviously you weren't here. Steph has gone second as well in the meantime, 17.2. Namaya there currently on a lap as well. He's looking like a big middle sector. And it's a 46 flat in the middle sector. That is huge from Namaya. Assecomb, there would have been 1.1 seconds up. They would have been on par in terms of their parity. But look at where Namaya is out on track. He's got Harry in front of him. And I think he's got Krypton on the outlap in front of him as well. On the run now down in towards the right-hander of turns 13 and 14 through the wall of Champion Chicane. Tim currently out on top from Steph in second. Harry there in third. It's an Alpine 1-2. But I think not for long as the Aston Martin now comes out the final corner. On the run to the line. 16.8. I'm going to go with it. Even quicker than 16.8, 16.5 from Namaya. It goes quickest. Tim though on the run to the line doesn't actually improve. He's actually just preparing up for a lap. Steph is invalidated. Harry is down on the lap time as well, and he's actually nearly spun coming out of turn number 3 there. Aquila just through the first sector. Frankie through the first sector. Krypton towards the end of his lap. He's on a set of soft compounded tyre, by the way, and he's on an outlap at this stage running towards the line, so it'll be interesting to see how Krypton gets on. Namaya out on top of Tim in second. Steph in third, and more contact. Jensen has retired from the session.
Yeah, in the wall coming out of the final corner on the set of soft compound tyres coming out of the wall of Champions Chicane, and he's hit the wall on the inside. I said it, didn't I? If you're waiting for the softs, at least be out there on the intermediate setting good lap times in case the softs don't pay off. The softs haven't paid off. It's not worked. Kryptonite's not improving. Jensen's put it in the wall. So that was a mistake, as Karafalidis now goes to the top of the timesheets. Is anybody improving? Nemaya's invalidated, as has Tim. They've both invalidated. Yeah, Frankie's on a lap at the moment. I think Aquila is on a lap at the moment as well. He's closest to finishing a lap in this session, so we'll see what Aquila can do. Can he steal pole position at the end of this qualifying session as he runs to the line very neat and tidy through the final chicane, runs up towards the line. It's not going to be pole, but it is third for the time being. That is a great lap from Aquila. What is Frankie doing then in the Alfa Romeo? We've got more people to the end of their runs. I don't know if this is quite going to be enough potentially for Frankie as he runs up to the line. No, it's not going to be enough. He's not going to be up there third on the grid. But yeah, wow, what a qualifying session that is. I think it's just Jake Marsh left and he's spun, so that is it. We are done in qualifying session, and Karafalidis in the end, kind of nowhere for the whole qualifying session, steals it by a few tenths of a second at the very end from Nemaya. And yeah, championship-wise, amazing for Nemaya, really, really bad for Jensen.
Yeah, shocked us even with that lap time, I think, Karafalidis. I certainly didn't ride on board with him. I didn't even know he was on the lap, to be honest. But the Greek man out on top, that is the nature of this qualifying session. Fast and furious, just like the action, I'm sure, for 35 laps around here in Canada. Karafalidis, though, out on top, 2 tenths clear of Nemaya there in second. Game on between the battle of potentially the Mediterraneans, the Greek and the Spaniard, of course, first and second. Frankie there in third, Aquila there in fourth, Tim there in fifth, who was on pole position for majority of that qualifying session, down there in fifth and didn't even improve on his lap time in the end. Steph there in sixth, Harry there in seventh, and the top 7 are covered by a second, with Asa coming eighth. If he got that valid lap time in, goodness knows where he would have been. I don't think he would have beaten Karafalidis, to be honest, but we need to obviously find out on that. Krypton there in 9th, Ryan Varda in 10th, Jake Marsh in 11th, Smalley in 12th, Jensen 13th, unlucky for some, hopefully going to be coming into the lucky end of the stick though. Oroka there in 14th, Jeff in 15th, and Jerry there down at the field, down in 16th position. Few comments that are coming through, by the way, as well. Nathan Clark saying, let alone extended mirrors, he may need truck mirrors. Yeah, certainly I think truck mirrors will be winging its way to Harry, quite literally, next week, if obviously they do recognise 4 penalties. Dino Monkey there in the chat saying, I'm top 300 on every track bar China on PC. What tier do you reckon I can get into? Certainly not tier 1 if you're top 300, because the top tiers, the top tier racing, I should say, are probably like top 10 or something like that in terms of the action. But yeah, Dino Monkey, it honestly depends on your pace, and it obviously depends on your skill craft as well. If you do want to sign up though, you can find all the information in the description, along with the Discord, the Twitch, and the Twitter, of course, if you do want to get involved. We are here though for the formation, not the formation, 30 seconds until the race starts, and it's going to be fascinating. What are we going to see out on track here tonight, Aiden, with these 35 laps awaiting us?
A mix of strategies, I think, is what we're going to see. I think we're going to see a lot of people doing some things different, especially with less people here. And because of the nature of this track, I think we're going to see quite a few penalties and potentially a race of attrition. This track is very, very difficult. So, yeah, we'll wait and see what these drivers can do.
Yeah. We will see, indeed. I'm excited for this one. I think this could be potential race of the season, judging by that qualifying session. All 5 red lights are now coming on. In fact, we're not. We're going for the formation lap. Indeed, I thought was going straight into the start. Formation lap, though, out on track. It means we can actually talk for another minute and a half. We are going to talk for another hour and a half as well. No real surprise, to be honest. Like, majority of the drivers have gone on for sort of hard compounded tyres, and obviously selecting the hards at the start means that they will be, I think, running certainly in dry conditions for the majority, if not all of this race.
Yeah, the fact that everybody in the hard tyres is a little bit surprising to me, I would say. I think maybe if everybody's on the hard tyres, does that suggest there's rain coming at the end of the race, and they want to get to those conditions? So that's maybe my thinking, why everybody has gone for the hard compound tyre. So, but we'll wait and see if that does ring true, whether there is rain coming towards the end or whether people just think that is the preferred strategy. But yeah, my prediction of people doing different strategies has gone completely out the window, hasn't it? Because everybody's on the same tyre. So that's definitely going to be interesting. The problem as well, of course, these hard compound tyres not going to be the best compounded tyre at the very start of this race. They're not going to provide a lot of grip. And of course, you don't really have the long corners around this track to build tyre temperature. The quick direction changes are they don't really give you a lot of tyre temperature. So while that's good in terms of you're not really going to be overheating at a track like this, you're not going to build a lot of temperature in your tyres either. So it could take a while for these hard compound tyres to get into their working range. That is good, potentially, if you're Karafalidis and Namaya, because if you can get some heat into your tyres and get away at the front, you can build a gap pretty quickly. So that is a good opportunity for Karafalidis and Namaya to try and do something at the start of this race if they can get some temperature into their tyres.
Yeah, I'm honestly really surprised that majority of drivers didn't start on a set of medium compound tyres. Now, I know they can only go 12, 13 laps, but they are the best tyre to be on around here, and I think one of them, at least, would have went for a set of medium compound tyres at the start of this race, and then obviously try and shot clear from the race by about 3 or 4 seconds. Harry's just been disqualified, parking up along with Aquila, along with Tim. They're getting all their pit stops wrong, but the 5 red lights are now about to come out here from the formation that now onto the race. Karafalidis on top, there's his run down towards turn number 1, Namaya alongside him, all 5 red lights coming on here in Canada. It's round 7 of the championship in WOR, and it is lights out and away we go. Namaya gets a very good start compared to Karafalidis, and off the line I think Namaya's going to hold the lead down in towards turn number 1. That was a beautiful start by the Aston Martin. He's through and he's into the lead of the race. Karafalidis there in second, Frankie in third, and a bit of a tap there from Steph, who caused a real concertina effect with Aquila and Tim. I think Tim might have damage maybe on the right side end plate, certainly slightly lacking at least, as it come down the inside of his own teammate of Aquila. Harry's going in there as well through the mid pack, but Namaya with a really good start off the lead, leads the way by 0.6 of a second. Karafalidis there in second, Frankie there in third, Asacom though on the back of Harry. There's further contact further down the field. Smalley and Jake Marsh are going side by side. Jensen's making up positions early on, and in fact Jensen spun! Jensen has spun, making contact I think with the side of a rock or a line bar, one of the two. He certainly ran, and unlucky for some, Ston in 13th, all the way down the back of the field. The season 12 champion is not going to be taking the crown, certainly at this point in this race. Namaya though leads the way, Karafalidis in second, Frankie in third, and into side by side into the hairpin. Smalley and Jerry going side by side. Smalley holds the position for now. In fact, Jerry's going to get a really good run on traction, and Jerry's going to get the job done. He's into 11th. Namaya though with a really good start. Karafalidis there in second, Frankie in third, and Namaya has bolted out in front.
Yeah, brilliant start off the line. I was on board actually with Namaya off the start of this race, and he was really low in the revs at the start of the race, but it just launched. It just went off the line. That was an absolutely brilliant start from the Aston Martin driver, clean driving as well for the majority of the field. And actually, unfortunately for Jensen, he's spun off the side of Jerry, who's up another place now around the outside of Jake Marsh at turn 1. And from the back of the field, having not taken part in qualifying, Jerry is now up into 10th. So Jerry's had a very good start to this race in that Alfa Romeo. Jensen was the one that spun off the side of him down to 16th, and the doors just keep opening for Namaya now, don't they? He's gone from second to first, and his closest championship rival in Jensen is at the back of the field, potentially scoring no points. So great open door here for Namaya to take the lead of the championship if he can hold on to this. So yeah, that is definitely going to be something to look out for. The other thing to look out for as well, we've already got a split in that famous DRS train, and it's Aquila in P6 who can't quite keep up with the top 5 at the moment.
Yeah, and look at Asacom on the back of Harry. I think he's just hunting him like a real hawk out on track on the back there of Harry. Harry, to be fair, is hunting on the back of Aquila as well. And I think their prey is in front of him. There was a spin. I think that was Tim who half spun coming out the hairpin. Just rejoins on track in front, and actually Aquila is through and he's into 5th. Tim there down to 6th, Harry there in 7th, and Harry's going to try and get the run down into the wall of champion chicane. Everyone know you can throw a towel over the wall of champion chicane at this point with 4 cars in it. About 0.5 of a second pocket there as Asacom gets a really good run out of the corner. He's not going to get the move done in towards turn number 1. Harry with the fastest lap of the race along with Asacom as well, but still hanging on. But Tim made a huge mistake coming out of the hairpin. I think he just got too trigger happy on the throttle.
Yeah, it looked like it. He was quite close to the back of his teammate, Steph. I don't think there was any contact. I think he was just trying to get quite close to the back of his teammate and just, like you say, too trigger happy on the throttle coming out the hairpin and lost the rear of the car. But it's not the end of the world. He's lost the position in a few seconds, but he's still running in the points at the moment, and there's still...
Frankie's round!
Oh, that is a shame. From third place, that is a real shame for Frankie. Has he kept that out of the wall?
He has. I think he's kept that out of the wall. I was right on board with that, and he spun coming out of turn number 7, or turn number 6, and I think he's kept it out of the wall. That was traditional Sebastian Vettel Hungary vibes there from Frankie. Yeah. That was an unbelievable save out the wall. If he hasn't got rear wing damage, I'll be surprised. But I think he's kept that out of the wall, and if he has, that's the save of the season right there.
Yeah, that's an amazing save if he's been able to keep that out of the wall. Like you say, Vettel vibes from 2014, that is a brilliant save if he's done that. And again, that keeps him still in the running in this race at least. So, yeah, just as I was saying, Akila's dropping back now. He's now up to 4th all of a sudden. He is now 2.3 seconds off the back of the leaders, but he is now running in 4th position. Tim looking potentially to try and get a move done, but he's not quite close enough into turn number 1. By the way, Jerry's continuing his fly back through the field. He's caught up to the back of this train, having passed Straight Marsh at the end of lap 1, and he's now onto the back of Kryptonite. So, Alfa Romeo driver looking very fast this evening on his hard compound tyres. So, keep an eye out for him. He could be a bit of a dark horse later on in this race. And Jensen in his comeback is really closing in on the back line Violet. Jensen in clean air has got a lot of pace. Problem is he's got no ERS now, so that's not going to help him. And he's just spun again, has Jensen, coming out of turn number 4. So his race goes from bad to worse. I feel like I'm Jensen's unlucky. I feel like I'm very unlucky for Jensen at the moment, because every time I mention him, something goes wrong for him.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. This is why you're back in the commentary box this week. Logan was here and he was fine, and he actually picked up a podium last week with Jensen. You are the curse, I think, of Jensen. That is what we have found out, I think, here tonight. Tim, though, on the back of Akila, 4th and 5th position. Harry's right on the back of these guys as well. And the Alpine, I think, is going to absolutely breeze past down the straight here. Akila doesn't want to be too hard on his defence. Jensen is retired coming out of turn number 9. And Tim now goes past Akila just before, I think, a potential safety car comes out. And indeed it does. And look where the drivers are. They've just came past the pit lane. Tim got that move done. He's through. He's into 4th, Akila there in 5th, Harry there in 6th. Asacom, though, and Frankie decide to come in the pit lane, and obviously Frankie into the pits, as I've got really big glitches going on in terms of everyone coming in the pit lane, so we'll avoid that for now. Namai leads the way, hopefully is in 2nd, Steph there in 3rd, but Asacom in the pits, Smalley in the pits, and also I think Frankie in the pit lane, as well as I have just completely glitched now in terms of the timings.
Yeah, I've got a couple of glitches on my end as well with timings, and yeah, I had that pit glitch as well. So, not a surprise, I would say, with the Codemasters game. I think we've just got I think we just have to expect new glitches to come in every time there's an update. So that is just the case, unfortunately. But it seems to sort itself out on my end now. So yeah, just a little bit of an issue, but. Yeah, that safety car I think is going to be a bit of a pain for our top 3, Namaya, Karafalides and Steph, because they had built up such a comfortable margin to the rest of the field. It was looking like they were just running away with things, and it was a fight between the 3 of them for the rest of this race. But this has allowed Tim the opportunity to regain all that time that he lost, of course, after his mistakes. So that is a great opportunity for him. And yeah, a smart move as well for the likes of Asacombe and Frankie to come in for the mediums. If there is rain coming towards the end of this race, and they think they can get to the rain on that set of medium compound tyres, why not do it? Put yourself on the fastest tyre, try and gain some places early on and see if you can hold on to those conditions. And if not, it puts you on a different strategy and you can do something a little bit different. So, yeah, we'll keep an eye on those on the medium compound tyres, especially Asacombe. I think from what we saw from the early phases of that race and his pace in qualifying, I think it's fair to say that Asacombe is going to try and fly through this field.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm just seeing if there's anybody else going to be coming in the pit lane. No, nobody on that set of hard compound tyres is into the pits. That means it's actually Frankie's back in the pit lane. I wonder if he's going back on to that set of hard compound tyres towards the end of the race. Yeah, he can only think so. He's getting that medium stint out the way. He's obviously picking out the floor. And it's softs, yeah, you're right. Soft compound tyres for Frankie into the pit lane. Jeff also, by the way, came in the pit lane with a typical Jeff sort of strategy going on to set of softs there as well. He's there in 14th position. Frankie there currently in 15th, and Frankie on the run down in towards turn 1, coming out of the pit lane. Luckily, they're not glitching coming out of the pits, as we saw with a few drivers on the last lap or so. But Frankie now on a set of soft compound tyres. I think that's more hindering him rather than actually helping him. He's on the set of soft compound tyre. He's on the quicker tyre out on track. He's got Jeff ahead, who's he's got his number every day of the week. But Frankie is now 15th position. He was in, 12th, 13th. I think he could have actually taken those mediums further into the race than what we're doing with set of softs. I think it's a bit of a daft call, to be honest, from Frankie. Not sure. I might be eating my own words, though, if he wins this race by the end of the race.
We'll see, definitely. I think I did notice in the pit lane, though, he did change his front wing. So I don't know if he maybe didn't get his front wing changed in the first stop, or whether he picked up damage after he pitted for the mediums. Either way, that is probably why he came in rather than for the soft compound tyres. But either way, if it stays dry and he can get through this field, he can come in again for that set of mediums, and they won't be too bad. So he could still be a part of this. He's just going to be very fast now. Whether he can hold on to it for the rest of the race is going to be another one as we get ready to get racing again.
Yep, definitely so. Nemaya, now the virtual Burmalander. In fact, he's already gone down in towards the right-hander of the World Champion. Chicane at 13 and 14 has absolutely split the field apart. Carefully there in second, Steph in third. Of course, they can't overtake until they get to the start-finish line. Nemaya leads the way, 6/10 of a second. Steph is right on the back, though. Carefully coming across the line. It's 3/10 of a second coming across. Harry's right on the back of Akila as well. The Red Bull on the back of the sister car. I think everyone knows going to remain in position for now. Frankie's obviously going to try and get the move done on Jeff running down in towards turn number 1, but he remains as they are. And it's Lamar that leads the way. Cow for leads in second, Steph in third, Tim in fourth, and the front four have certainly pulled away. Akila again becoming the cork in the bottle.
Yeah, it just didn't react to that safety car, that restart. And I went a lot earlier than I think a lot of the field were expecting. Half of the field hadn't really caught up yet. They were still sorting themselves out coming out of the hairpins, which I think is why Nemaya did it. I think he just wanted to separate up the field. Oh, that is a shame for Harry. He's dropped the car then, coming out of the chicane. And again, Akila couldn't breathe a sigh of relief. He's got another driver around him that's spun out of contention. Next person behind him is Kryptonite, Jake Marsh, first person in the top 10 to pick up a penalty. And Jerry's race just keeps getting better and better, doesn't it? He started last. He's already worked his way through half the field. He's up to 7th with a great shot at 6th place on this next coming lap when DRS gets enabled.
Line Violet trying to switch it back on the back of Smalley, who just taps the rear end of the front end there of the wing. Left side end plate damage, I think, for Line Violet, and he's getting a little bit of ghosting there from Frankie as well. And Frankie's actually going to go 2 for 1 because the Rocker has made a mistake coming out of the turn 8 and 9 complex, and Frankie is through, and he's into that position. Into 11th he goes, and he's there on that Telesoft compound. So he's already flying through the field and nearly crashed himself coming out of the World Champion chicane. Here he comes again, though, in towards turn number 1 on the back of Smalley, and there's contact there. There was always going to be too late. Smalley, if he didn't have damage now, certainly might have off the back of Frankie there. Frankie in towards turn 1. The gap was there. To be honest, there is time and a place where you pull off the move. That wasn't the time and the place, and Frankie there in 10th. Making a move. Smalley, he's down in 12th. Frankie's escaped the scene, and obviously if it's not fortunate towards the end of the race, I think there might be a penalty coming his way there.
Yeah, it was a day late and a dollar short, wasn't it? You can't pull that move off into turn 1 at Canada. There's not a braking zone for that corner, as I think Jeff has just spun out of the same corner that Harry spun. Yeah, there's not a braking zone for turn 1 really around this track. It's very, very short. You can't pull that kind of dive bomb move off at a corner like that. The braking zone is just too short.
Oh, that's a con!
Yeah. Oh, down the inside of Jake Marsh.
Beautiful.
Lovely move. Now that is a corner you can pull that kind of move off because there's enough of a braking zone, and Asako improving that one there. Lovely move up into 8th position for the AlphaTauri driver. But yeah, like you say, I think Frankie, there's definitely a penalty coming Frankie's way if Smalley does decide to report that one. I think he just saw that he'd overtaken a couple of people a few corners before, got a bit carried away with himself and just went for a gap that wasn't going to go. But I think he's going to go for the gap again. But this time around, he is much closer to the back of Jake Marsh than he was to Smalley. So yeah, this time around, the move is nice and clean because that's how you meant to do it. He's able to get it right the second time around.
Yeah, definitely. So Frankie obviously had good pace in PSGL in midweek as well on Monday. He obviously won there in Jeddah. And he's there in 9th position. Jeff's retired coming in the pit lane. Unfortunately, he obviously lost his front wing. Obviously, he can carry on. Anything can happen around here in Canada. Anything can happen in Formula 1, and probably might just will as well. Cal Felidas, though, I think has just made a mistake coming out of the second chicane there of turns 5 and 6. Steph is right on the back of him, coming through the right-handers now of 7, and then through the left-hander again of turn number 8, the second chicane. Nemaya, though, I think has got a lot more pace than what these guys are letting on. The Alpines are obviously on the back there of Cal Felidas, and they've got obviously Rockers now retired out the race coming through turn number 9. Is that going to be the second safety car of tonight?
Yep.
Yes, it is. Jerry, I think, had just completed the move, I think, maybe on Krypton, coming across. Yeah, he did. So Jerry is ahead of Krypton through the hairpin, just about dived it down the inside line. He was the car ahead going into the corner, and Jerry is through and he's intersect there on Krypton. Yeah, second safety car out. Until that point, though, as Cal Felidas is in, Steph in, Tim in. I can only think they're going set of medians. Can they last 24 laps to the end of the race?
It's gonna. I don't think so. I don't think they will. But if we get another safety car intervention, then potentially they could last. But yeah, I think that the thing that we had to note there was Nemaya was leading the way and had had almost 100% ERS.
Line Violet's
Violet made a mistake.
Yeah. Desynced, I think.
Oh, very weird. He's
what on?
Very bizarre. Very bizarre for Line Violet. Yeah, I have no idea what's going on there. It says he's in the pit lane on my end, but he's visually not in the pit lane. So yeah, I think that is some sort of desync, unfortunately, for Line Violet. But yeah, before that safety car came out, the thing to note was everybody behind was on about 50% ERS. Namaya was running at almost 100 and was still leading the race. So you could tell Namaya wasn't at his full potential yet on those hard compound tyres. So that is going to be one thing that these drivers are going to have to note for the rest of this race, that Namaya has more pace in his back pocket. At the moment, he's just choosing not to use it. So we'll wait and see what he can do. And if it does stay dry, I don't think from here the mediums make much sense. I think 26 laps as it is now, 25 potentially when we get going. 25 laps on a set of medium compound tyres, I mean, they could make it to the end, percentage wear-wise, but they're going to be so slow. And the pit lane here isn't that big. It's a very short pit lane here because you missed the final 2 corners and you missed the first corner. And because of the nature of the circuit, the difference between a fresh set of tyres and an old set of tyres is pretty big. So even if they did stay out to the end on those mediums, I think the likes of Namaya and Tim could easily recapture them having to make a pit stop under green flag conditions.
Yeah, definitely so. Everyone not coming in the pit lane, so that means the safety car's going to be at least one more lap. But yeah, Line Violet, I think now is back okay. I think he's okay. It looks like he's actually left the session. No, he's completely desynced, in fact, on our end. So I'm not sure if the lobby maybe desyncing. I know we had that a little bit earlier on. Jake Marsh has certainly not seen him out on track. He's just forced his way through. And Frankie there. And now Line Violet is back with us. All of a sudden, he now takes control. It's about 15 seconds, I think, the desync is actually for. Calphilides has just gone past Harry as well. And has Harry lost his front wing? He has. No, he's got left side end plate damage.
Oh, he has. Wow. What on earth is happening under these safety cars? I think that's the third driver now that's picked up damage under a safety car. I don't know how we're picking up damage under a safety car at these speeds, but yeah, some silly mistakes going on out on track at the moment, some very weird ones. And yeah, I think Line Violet is back, like you say. That car is weaving about like someone's in control of it now, so he is back. Maybe he did just desync for a bit and he is back in full control of that Williams. We'll wait and see, but although on my end now he looks like he's gone again, so yeah, I don't know. But safety car is in this lap, so we'll focus on the front of the field for the time being.
Yeah, definitely so. I've just reported there in the Discord as well that potentially could be decent. They're certainly decent on our end. I'm not sure if the drivers are going to be seeing this, obviously, on their end. Can only hope they are, and if so, we've warned them. And I've certainly warned them there in the chat, saying that they might be decent. I can even see from Tim a little bit of lag spiking potentially there, but I know he's been like that all race, I think. But Namaya now goes, once again, down into the WOR champion chicane. This time hasn't got much of a gap over Tim, and Tim's going to be right on the back there, coming through the WOR champion chicane. Namaya, though, so strong, coming out of the WOR champion chicane, and now leads on the run down towards turn 1. Here comes Jerry on the back of Aquila as well, in towards turn 1. Harry's back in the pit lane, and Jerry dives it down the inside line of Aquila, and that is a beautiful move down the inside line. Aquila saw him coming. In the end, I thought it was a little bit too little too late, but Jerry gets the job done, and he's into third. Is there a hack or something going on in this lobby? He's from 16th on the grid up to third, and now he's got Tim and Namaya within reach, potentially going for the race win. This is a phenomenal drive from the TF man, as Frankie, the other man, is off the is out of the race, coming out of turn number 4, and there might be another safety car potentially going to be coming out on track.
Potentially, by the looks of things, I'm not seeing anything come out, so we may get away with that one. But yeah, this has been a race so far for Jerry, hasn't it? What a race it's been for him from the back of the field. Gained 5 places on the opening lap, and since then has just been picking them off one by one as they either pit or make mistakes, or like that one, just makes a lovely move down the inside of Aquila. And fair play to Aquila as well for giving him the space to allow him to make that move and not turning in on him and causing more contact than he would like. So yeah, fair play to both of them. Great move from Jerry, great respect there from Aquila as well to give him the space to make that move, and that puts Kryptonite now on the back of Aquila for 4th position. So I feel like Aquila's been overtaken left, right and centre, but is still in 4th. This is a bit of a weird race so far for the AlphaTauri drivers. Oh, Kryptonite has a big snap out of the final chicane, big enough for the car to be ghosted, and that is a free position for the other AlphaTauri of Astacombe on those medium compound tyres, who works his way up into 5th. But I think unfortunately for Astacombe, this strategy now of for him and Smalley being on these medium compound tyres, this strategy kind of feels a bit null and void now. You don't really know where they're going to go with this strategy.
Yeah, definitely so. Krypton, I think, might have potential damage on the right side end plate, on the right side end plate coming out the WOR champion chicane, because obviously the car ghosted. Obviously, saw that Astacombe's incoming, but I think Krypton might have a slight bit of damage. I think it might be only like light green damage or something, but if there is damage on that car, he might just well see it coming to the chicanes, and there, I think, there is your point, might just have a little bit of damage. Smalley on the back of him, running in towards the hairpin. McLaren the papaya, Cullen McLaren on the back. He's not going to lunge it from that far back, surely. That would have been idiotic, I think, to try and go from that far back. It's a move I would have pulled off, to be honest. That's why I'm in the commentary box, though. Stefan and Karafelidis are going side by side just in behind. Little bit of wheel banging, wheel touching there from the Alpine and the McLaren, and now they're side by side into the World Champion chicane. And I do not want to watch this at all, but we have to. Karafelidis on the outside line. If he pulls this off, this is a great move. Brilliant move by Karafelidis. Through and he's into 8. Just comes to show the null and voidness of the World Champion chicane. You can go side by side through there. Great reactions there from Steph as well to give him the position. Jake Marsh on the back of Line Violet in towards turn 1, actually goes inside of him and gets the job done. So yeah, Line Violet is totally desynced on our end, but Karafelidis through and he's into 8th position. Steph at 9 had to have balls of steel, but my god, he had balls to commit, and that was beautiful stuff.
Yeah, lovely. Karafelidis actually had to get out of turn 10 to avoid hitting the back of his teammate when his teammate backed out of that move on Kryptonite, which cost him the place to Steph, and then he just re-overtook him on the run through that chicane. But yeah, lovely move from Karafelidis to get that one done. And you can see Karafelidis wheeling about a bit now. I think that's him telling Smalley to get out of the way, potentially. I think he thinks he's the faster of the two McLarens, and he wants to have a run at Kryptonite before he's attacked by Steph again. And the problem as well is Kryptonite is losing touch now with the leaders of this race. So I feel like Karafelidis wants his teammate to move out of the way so he can have a run at potentially getting back up into the top 5. We'll see if he does move out of the way, but at the moment we see real no impetus for Smalley to do that. So at the moment Smalley staying where he is, as here comes Asacombe on his teammate, not quite close enough, and he's weaving as well. So I think we've got a lot of team orders going on here tonight. And in fact, Akila's made his own mistake, so yeah, I don't think team orders is needed. Akila made a mistake, went too deep into the chicane, and Asacombe's going to take the position up into 4th position. So yeah, nice move there from Asacombe to pick off the advantage of Akila's mistake. But interestingly, Akila really struggled at that restart, got overtaken by Jerry, and then managed to bridge the gap somehow to the top 3 and has kept them all in a DRS train. So nobody in the top 9 at the moment is out of DRS yet.
Yeah, he was within 9 tenths per second. That's why he was picking up the DRS, and that's why these guys are on the back. Back to your point with Karafelidis and Smalley. Yeah, that instruction clearly was given for Karafelidis to obviously try and get the move done there on Smalley. Steph, I think, though, was potentially quicker than Karafelidis. At this moment in time, the McLaren there in 8th position. Steph there in 9th. Steph is literally on the back of him, like super glue, stuck to the back of that McLaren. Can't shake him off, and Steph looks quicker compared to Karafelidis, even with using no ERS, running down to the hairpin as Crypto makes a mistake, coming through the hairpin, and actually Smalley sent round slightly on contact on the exit, and Smalley's going to lose position. There's Steph going through inside of him, and Karafelidis and Steph are through, and Smalley, I think, either his own mistake there, which I think it might have been, or there was a slight bit of contact with Krypton rejoining after locking up into the hairpin.
I think there was a slight bit of contact between him and Krypton, but I think it was kind of more on Smalley than anything else. Krypton really was in the only part of the track he could have been. Smalley kind of ran out, I think, trying to squeeze Kryptonite so he could get a better run, and he just pushed it a little bit too far. So I think that's more on Smalley than anything else. I don't think we're going to see anything come of that one, but he's not lost too much. Oh, as I say that, there's another snap coming out of turn 2, so I think Smalley may be struggling
Tim's
already.
On the wall! Tim in the wall, sorry to cut you off, coming through turn number 3 and 4. Tim in the wall, I think he's kept it out of the front wing, certainly. He hasn't got any front wing damage, might have rear wing damage on rejoining there. And there is a yellow flag in that sector 1 and 2 for him. But that is a shame. Tim was actually really pressurising Nemaya before that point. And that pressure, I think, got the better of him there. Applying too much pressure, too aggressive. And that is the mistakes being creeped in. It's only the smallest mistakes that can make a big difference.
We said it, didn't we, in qualifying? This track on the face of it doesn't look difficult, but it is really, really difficult when you're actually racing around it because of the quick changes of direction and how close the walls are. There's no room for error around a track like that, and we've seen it multiple times tonight with multiple drivers making mistakes. But yeah, Asacombe go for the move on Jerry into the chicane, and Jerry smartly backs out of that one, recognising he's not going to win that fight, so just latch onto the back of Asacombe, who's on the better tyres theoretically at the moment, and just use Asacombe to get back up towards Nemaya potentially. Asacombe, of course, has DRS because there's only that one detection point for the 2 straight. So Asacombe may be able to bring himself potentially back into play with Nemaya because of that. So yeah, a bit of an open door again for Nemaya to pull away, but Asacombe on those mediums is now closer. But of course we don't really know what Asacombe's strategy is from this point in the race onwards. We don't really know where he's going to be able to go with these tyres. So I guess Nemaya at the moment is still in a very good position, and it's crazy to think we've only got 4 people left. Of everybody remember started on the hard compound tyres. We've only got 4 people left still on that same set of hards, and the leader of them is Nemaya, who started second, and the second of those on the hards is Jerry, who started last. It's been a crazy race so far, hasn't it? It's been a very weird race.
It has, but I think we're getting now into the real nitty-gritty. The second half of the race always better than the first round here in Canada. If you are enjoying the comments, enjoying the commentary, by the way, like, comment, subscribe, tick that notification bell, of course, if you're brand new to the channel. Next week, of course, more racing from Tier 1. Legacy Division will also be back if you're tuning in from Legacy Division. Probably why we've got a little bit more viewers than last week, certainly. Namailo leading the way, has to come there in second, Jerry there in third. Kaufalidis, though, is really on the back now of Krypton, who made a mistake there, actually. Kaufalidis coming out the wall of champion chicane, lost 0.3 of a second, and Steph was on the back of him, around 0.2 of a second, coming down in towards turn 1 last time around, now 0.6 away, so Steph has clearly made some mistakes somewhere on that lap. Smalley doing the same as well, he's made a mistake, and now Asacom has gained 0.4 of a second on the back of this race leading Namaya, but I still think Namaya's not giving really anything away. This battle, though, Asacom's got 57% of ERS, 32% for Namaya. This battle, I'm really rubbing my hands as Tim is into the pit lane at this battle, because Namaya leads the way, Asacom in second, Asacom on mediums, Namaya on hard. These two are very quick drivers and very good on their day. Game on.
Yeah, definitely game on, and if Asacom can get these medium tyres about, what, 7 laps further, and it stays dry, Asacom can get pit for a set of softs and go to the end of the race on a set of soft compound tyres. So Asacom's well now within that. I was thinking about strategies there. Asacom is in the hunt for this race victory if he can get these medium tyres to about lap 25. If he can get there, then he is still within a shot of winning this race. It's just a case of whether he has any pace left by the time he does that. But at the moment, we're not seeing any signs of him slowing down. Is actually Jerry. Was that Jerry into the pit lane? Yeah, Jerry's in. Okay, so Jerry's gone for an early pit stop off of these hard compound tyres for I would say, a set of mediums, and he's followed in by Smalley behind. So medium compound tyres going on to Jerry's car from third place. He is going for that fast undercut, but like we've said many a time, it's the speed of a fresh set of tyres around this track could be very, very strong. So we'll see what Jerry's pace is like, but even if he has 1 lap, maybe 2 laps of free fresh air, he could jump into the net lead of this race.
I think he will, to be honest, because I'm just going through the strategies there as well. Asacom now pulling away from Aquila. Aquila's in a different battle now, I think, compared to Asacom and Namaya out on top. Asacom currently there in second, has got more ERS than Namaya, but I have a feeling Asacom is going to wait him behind. Namaya is going to try and extend this stint as much as possible, and if he does, it lets Jerry completely into play in terms of this race. So it's basically letting, I think, Namaya's guard down as Steph has just dive bombed down the inside of Kaufalidis into the hairpin just off camera shot. Good move there by Steph. He's into fit. Kaufalidis there down in 6th, but it's these guys as well that you've got to have to factor in, as now Krypton is going to the inside line into the wall of champion chicane. Namaya's into the pit lane from the lead of the race. Aquila also into the pit lane, and Krypton now has absolutely butchered that entry into the corner, and it could give Steph potentially the run down in towards turn number 1, but it's not going to be quite close enough. Asacom now leads the way. Krypton in second, Steph there in third, Namaya though in the pit lane. Jerry is coming down into the exit of the wall of champion chicane. I think Namaya is going to be ahead comfortably, I would say by around 2 seconds.
Yeah, it should do, because of course we've still got Jerry to go through turn 1 and 2. It's closer than I thought it would be after just the 1 lap, but Namaya is just going to hold on to it. But yeah, Jerry a lot closer than he was. So yeah, that's not too bad of an undercut there from Jerry, but I think Namaya did that just to cover him off. And now, of course, we've got to see how much time Namaya can gain on Kaufalidis and Steph and Jake Marsh, of course, because they've all pitted for those mediums. You would assume the likes of Steph, Kaufalidis and Jake Marsh are just going to luck it out and try and go to the end on those medium compound tyres. Can Namaya and Jerry catch them before the end of this race? That is going to be their task now from here on out, whether they can catch them. And now we've got to see what Asacom can do in free air with a bit more ERS. Does he push a bit further and then go for a set of soft compound tyres towards the end? What can he do with the rest of his race? So yeah, it's going to be a really fascinating end to this one. What's even more of a pain, though, for Namaya is that Jerry's back within DRS range and very close. Is Jerry going to fight Namaya full position, or do they work together to try and work their way forwards?
If I was them, I'd work together, because I'd realise that Line Violet's obviously a little bit decent in front, and if that is the case, they'll go through them quite easily as if he's just ghosted out on track, certainly on our end at least. Jerry, though, was on the back of him, just made a slight mistake there coming out the wall of Champion Chicane. Again, slight mistakes creeping in. But Nemaya, if Line Violet is still going out on track, it looks like the timings have actually fixed themselves. So he's looking like he is now beginning to hold up Nemaya and Jerry. And if that is the case, Nemaya and Jerry in big trouble. Their help, though, is going to come from Krypton in that second position, because Asicum leading the way. Nemaya, though, has just gone through Line Violet as if he's not there, and he's still desynced on our end. Jerry there into 7th as well. And actually, Jerry, as a result, look at him on the back there, coming through the chicane of 5 and 6. Now on the back, down the back, straight in towards 7 and 8. Maybe a dive bomb in towards the hairpin, I'm thinking, from Jerry's perspective. We'll run above the Alpha Romeo up towards the hairpin. But again, Nemaya so quick out of turns 8 and 9, I think, has just put it beyond reach, at least for this moment in time. They're in clear air, though. They're going to be battling, as well as Steph and Krypton, who are going to be battling down the straight here. Steph through, and he's into 2nd. Krypton there in 3rd, and I hope Krypton doesn't decide to come in the pit lane. He'll go straight into the back of him. If he does, he doesn't, and Steph there through, and he's into 2nd. Krypton in 3rd. Carol Felidis now in 4th, but Jerry now 5/10 off the back, and again, Nemaya looks like he's on the quicker strategy and on the quicker setup.
Yeah, it does look a little bit faster, doesn't he, in the right places. Just a bit caught out, like I say, by Line Violet's slow car. But
Steph spun!
Okay, Steph spun just after making that move on Kryptonite. He's dropped the car, and that is pretty much his strategy over and done with. You would say Nemaya and Jerry will get past Steph very soon as well after that spin. So that is a real shame for Steph. So now you've got to say the only one that is still running potentially to the end of this race is Karafalidis. I will be shocked if Kryptonite decides to go to the end of the race, but it's Kryptonite. He'll try anything. You know what he's like. He'll try anything, so we'll see what he can do. But yeah, Karafalidis is really the only one left in this race that is properly going to the end of proceedings tonight, hoping to get those tyres to the end. So we'll see what Karafalidis can do for this rest of this race. But does he want to sit behind Kryptonite for much longer and just waste time while Nemaya and Jerry start to catch up? I am surprised, though, that Jerry and Nemaya's pace is not as fast as I thought it would be. I thought it would be a little bit faster than it is, but there's not a huge amount of lap time difference. I think at the moment, last time around, it was a high 13 for Kryptonite last time around. Nemaya on that previous lap was a low 13. So there's not really much of a difference between the tyres, and now Nemaya is derating as well. So Nemaya either needs to find more time, or he needs to hope that Karafalidis' tyres completely die by the end of this race, because at the moment, I don't think he's catching him enough.
He isn't, and Karafalidis there currently, the gap is dead on 10 seconds in terms of Karafalidis to Nemaya. Obviously, he's on 10 lap pressure tyres towards the end. That 10 lap pressure tyres potentially could gain you around 30% extra tyre wear towards the end of the race. So let's put it into perspective. If Karafalidis goes to the end of the race and does another 12 or 13 laps on this, he's going to be around about the 70% mark. If not, if Nemaya and Jerry obviously are towards the top end of the race towards the end, and if they're right on the back of him in around 10 or so laps time, Jerry and Nemaya are going to have that 30% advantage potentially over Karafalidis towards the end. And the gap now from the leader, Karafalidis down to Nemaya, again, gap is catching. So it's now 9.8 roughly, I think, the gap out on track. In fact, I think it's actually less. It's about 9 seconds now, the gap. So Nemaya has taken a second out of Karafalidis already. He's within near enough DRS range on the back there as Krypton's into the pit lane, now getting out of the way into 3rd. Nemaya now is catching Steph. Steph is going to be the real cork in the bottle because he's also going towards the end on this race. Nemaya and Jerry can dispose of Steph quite quickly. Game on for the race win. If not, Karafalidis, I think, laps are going to run out for the guys that are chasing.
Yeah, I think Karafalidis here is praying that Steph holds Nemaya and Jerry up, because if he does, then that is a great opportunity, like I say, for Karafalidis to hold on. By the way, Kryptonite into the pit lane for a set of medium compound tyres is a little bit of an odd choice. I think he could have gone an extra lap and gone for the softs. I think Kryptonite could have done, but I guess he's gone for the safe option. He's not really going to say gain much than a P7 in this race, but the penalties to the drivers in front and then the gap to the drivers in front of that. So that you kind of say P7 is where Kryptonite is aiming for, unless we have any more crashes in this race. So we'll see what he can do. We've also got to keep an eye on Asicom. Asicom has picked up a penalty in these previous laps, but he is still going on those medium compound tyres. We'll have 11 laps to go when we cross the line. So we'll see what he does in terms of what he does for tyres. Does he come in to the pit lane? Does he decide to go to the end of the race? That is another question. Of course, the penalty is not going to help, but Nemaya is onto the back of Steph now, but not got DRS. Here comes Jerry, though. Is Jerry going to go for the move on Nemaya? Oh, he thought about it into the chicane, but he decides against going for the move. But will he go for the move down towards turn 1? Nemaya, absolutely no ERS at all. Yeah, Jerry's got great straight line speed. He's going to have to go the long way round. Nemaya gives him just enough space in the braking zone. Jerry's going for the inside. They make contact. Oh, my word. We've seen it so many times. People kind of fighting fights they don't need to fight, and that is a shame. I think that's Namaya's race win gone there. That is the race win for Namaya out the window now.
Yep, it is. And Jerry, I think, obviously gets away with it for now. He won't get away with it in the steward's room. Again, I think Namaya, though, could have cut him off slightly, maybe, in terms of my perspective. Certainly, he was on the right-hand side. He was coming across towards the right. It is a left-handed corner, so he always got to be flung off camber, basically, off the corner. And Namaya there spun. Jerry, though, I think, shouldn't have really tried that around the outside line. Not only has he ruined, potentially, his own race in terms of picking up a penalty later on in the steward's room, Namaya is also ruined in terms of his race, and now he's got Harry and Akila to keep company as well in a battle that he really should not be fighting in. The gap was around 9 seconds before that happened between him and Karofalidis, but Asacom, these laps are ticking on by, and I am now confident. I think that Asacom is going towards the end of this race, because if he pits in, he's going to lose 17 seconds, and that 17 seconds is going to put him around Harry Akila sort of area. So Asacom has to now commit, I think, to the race. He's only lost around 6 cents per second of these last 2 laps. That game is also, that race is also going to now play into the hands of Karofalidis. But Jerry, once again, on the back of Steph, still going to be on the back of this. Jake Marsh has picked up another 3-second penalty. In terms of the penalties, by the way, we'll run you through them now. There's a yellow flag in Sector 1, and that is for, what was that for? Krypton, maybe, or Lion Varda, one of the two.
Potentially. I think it was potentially Kryptonite who had a bit of a moment out of turn 2, I think, but nothing too major by the looks of things. But yeah, it's a bit of a... I'm kind of baffled by this at the moment, because I was expecting the Maya and Jerry's pace to be a lot faster than it is, and they're just not. They're not fast. They're not that much faster than the drivers that are on much older tyres than them. Jerry's nowhere near getting past Steph at the moment, and Steph's tyres are nearly 10 laps older, and Jerry just cannot at the moment at least find a way through. He can't find a way past. In fact, this is the first lap that Jerry's had DRS on the back of Steph, and he's been within 2 seconds of Steph for the last 4 laps. So it's not really working at the moment, are these fresh mediums. Unless the mediums have a massive pace cliff at the end of their life, they've just not got the pace in them at the moment. And Namaya now, after that spin, has now got no opportunity to save ERS and is just falling further and further away. So, yeah, I'm completely baffled by this. I thought these fresh and medium compound tyres would have a lot more pace than they do, but they just don't. They're just not that fast at the moment. Jerry is nowhere near fast enough to be challenging. At the moment, for Jerry, this is a battle to see if he can finish 3rd at the moment, because he's not catching Karofalidis anywhere near quick enough, and if Asacom stays out, Asacom has got such a buffer that even the penalty doesn't matter.
Yeah, and look at the gap. It's 4.7 seconds. The gap has stagnated over the last lap or so between him and Karofalidis. And Asacom is definitely going to the end of this race now. It has to be going to the end of this race. Otherwise, I'd be looked like an absolute fool if he does it. If he comes in the pit lane now and ruins his chance of potentially race win. There is a yellow flag though, and that's Smalley that is round coming out of turn number 5. I think he's got the car back going again, and he's spun once again, I think, through that middle sector. But here comes Jerry now on the back of Steph. This is going to be easy pickings now for the Talent Factory man. He is through. He does make a clean move this time on the back of Steph. He gets the job done. He's into 4th, and he's within DRS range of Jake Marsh as well, because of course they share the same detection point down and towards turn 1. It's one of the only tracks on the F1 calendar that actually does. Mexico, of course, has got separate DRS detection zones in real life nowadays. Harry on the back of Namaya as well. In a battle that's not really fighting. Look at now who's joined the party though. Krypton, right on the back of Akila, right on the back of Harry, right on the back of Namaya. Didn't think he'd be battling with Namaya towards the end of this race, certainly, but Krypton has got very good pace on these mediums. I wouldn't rule him out of a top 5 finish, as Smalley, I think, is going to come in the retire, maybe to pit in and obviously retire the car.
Potentially, yeah. I'm baffled here by Namaya, because he obviously, on the hard compound tyres, Namaya looked untouchable, really, didn't he? Nobody was really making that much of a dent, and any time they got close, they made a mistake. But since that spin, Namaya has not closed in on Steph or Jerry. In fact, he's just falling further and further away, which is really baffling on his tyres. And he's dragging Harry along with him, and Harry's tyres are much older. And in a DRS train, Kryptonite's tyres were only 4 laps younger than Namaya's, and he's gone from 3 seconds back to catching them in 2 laps. So Namaya's just not got a lot of pace at the moment, as Jerry goes for another move on Jake Marsh, this time into the chicane, gets the move done, and he's up into 3rd position. But look, he's 6 seconds still behind Karofalidis, and Jake Marsh has crashed. He has crashed. Is that a safety car? Is that a late safety car? Yes, it is. Okay, that throws everything up in the air, and if you're Asacom now, you have to pit. You have to pit for a set of softs. I think if you're everybody, you have to pit for a set of softs.
Have to pitch for a set of soft compound tyre. If not, then obviously you're going to be undercut towards the end of the race, maybe with guys like Nemaya, Harry, Krypton coming in the pit lane. But this is, I think, rather unfortunate, to be honest, for Asacom. Kaufalidis, though, look at now, his delta time compared to Asacom. He's now within a second all of a sudden. It was 4-odd seconds. And Kaufalidis, obviously, I think, is going to have to slow down on the delta time. If not, he just gained 3 seconds underneath the safety car restart, potentially on the safety car restart. Obviously, he'll be on the back of him. But Asacom leads the way. Kaufalidis in second, Jerry in third. It gives us a good time, though, to run through the penalties, of course, at this stage of those that remain. Jake Marsh did have 9 seconds worth of penalty, I think, before he crashed out. 3 seconds for Asacom, Harry, Aquila, and Smalley. They're the only drivers, actually, that have picked up so far 3-second penalties. But this is the big moment in this race. What is everyone going to do? Asacom doesn't pit in. Kaufalidis in.
That's a mistake. That is a mistake from Asacom.
Jerry's in, yeah.
Yeah, everybody's going to come in. I'm sure nobody's staying out. I think the only one.
No.
I think the only one that would stay out is Kryptonite, but even he's in. So, yeah, that's a mistake. That is a big mistake from Asacom not to pit. He's 25 lap old medium compound tyres and a time penalty. Obviously, the time penalty is not going to help him either way, but if he goes out on a set of soft compound tyres with the time penalty, he at least gives himself an opportunity to fight and be able to hold position and try and pull away from some people further back. 25 lap old mediums against fresh soft, he's just going to fall through the field, and then the penalty is going to add on top of that. So, yeah, I feel like Asacom is throwing away a top 5 result here.
Nemaya's just been held up by Harry coming out of the pit lane as well, so Nemaya's also yet another position to a driver out on track, this time in the pit lane, and this time it was Harry that came out in front of him in the Red Bull. The Aston Martin came out pretty much inside of him, and of course, Colton in the game, Harry now in front. I would have said, could Asacom potentially get away with it and obviously pit in before the guys come back round? The answer to that is no, because Kaufalidis is on the same straight as him. He's 5 seconds behind. Asacom could get away with coming in the pit lane and then rejoin him potentially in third.
It's potential, but I don't understand why he would now. If he stayed out now, there's no point. There is no point in coming in now, because you're just going to throw away the places that you're going to lose anyway. So, yeah, this is a big mistake for Asacom to stay out, in my opinion. I personally don't understand why he's decided to do that, but maybe he knows something we don't know. Maybe he still has pace in these tyres. Maybe he's expecting a bit more carnage, but he's... Yeah, like I said, if you pit in for a fresh set of softs, even with a penalty, you at least give yourself the chance to fight for position. A, if you want to get the penalty removed, and B, in case people further behind you in the field fall back out of that 3-second window, you give yourself a chance to fight. By doing this, he's just a sitting duck now.
Yeah, Jake Marsh, by the way, in the chat. I have been looking at the chat, by the way. We have been getting many comments in. Jake Marsh in the chat says, that's a shame I crashed because I don't know if Asacom could make it to the end. He saw the state of my tyres. It would have been an exciting finish. Yes, it would have been indeed. Asacom, though, basically, he's going to be making 30 lap mediums towards the end. It's not that I've seen 30 lap mediums to get to the end of the race. I have. And Asacom is one of those drivers potentially that could come into that mindset, could come into that frame, and basically get those sides towards the end. But he's got Kaufalidis on warmed up set of soft compound tyres behind him. Jerry, Steph, Harry, Nemaya, Krypton, Aquila, Lime Voller, the list can go on and on. Smalley as well, he'll come back on, he's still out on the track, but I think we're going to get the safety car in next lap around for sure. That means he's got basically a 9-car train on the back of him. If you were in Asacom's shoes, Mr. Aidan Carter, what would you do off their safety car restart? You've surely just got to bolt and hope for the best.
I think if you're Asacom, you have to leave it to the last minute. I think if you're Asacom for this safety car restart, you leave it to the last minute and hope that people behind you get caught up in the chaos and make mistakes. I think that's the only way Asacom here saves a potential top 5 result in this race, is if he causes carnage for drivers behind. Of course, in a safe manner, he doesn't want to start and stop and that kind of thing. But if he goes late, everybody's going to be raring to go, and that can cause issues into turns 1 and turns 2 that we've seen many a time at many a track before. We've seen it in real life in Baku many a time, when people go very late at safety car restarts and it causes a little bit of carnage in the first couple of corners. So that's, in my opinion, that's Asacom's only chance of finishing in the top 5 in this race. 3 laps to go. That's not a lot of time, of course, for the soft runners to make much of an impact, but we will get DRS on the final lap, and there's plenty of places to overtake even without DRS around this track. So, yeah, that is the only thing I can see Asicom doing, is going very late. If he goes early, it gives the likes of Kaufalidis and Jerry the final chicane on the back straight to close back in on him, and then potentially make a move straight away into turn 1.
Yeah, we saw though in the early stages of the race there was an early safety car. Asicom was leading underneath that safety car, and obviously, no, in fact it was Nemaya, I think, that was leading on the safety car. My apologies, I'm just going on an absolute tangent, I think, in terms of what I was going about there. But Asicom, I think, honestly, I personally think he should go a little bit early and just try and string out the field. He's got to hope that basically 3 laps, the DRS is going to come on the final lap of the race. If Asicom has got any life in those tyres, he needs to use it up on these next 2 laps, because the DRS, once that comes on, with the safety car now coming in this lap, Kaufalidis there is sitting in behind. He's waiting for Asicom what to do. What will the OP man do? Will he outplay the field in terms of this safety car restart, or will Kaufalidis be there right on the back of him, chomping at the bit? But look at Asicom already. You can tell he wants to get on with things. And if Kaufalidis is not careful, he is going to be caught napping underneath the safety car. It's going to be a fantastic final 3 laps of the race here in Canada. And Asicom now coming down into the WOR Champion chicane. Shudi's got to now think about putting the brakes on. Everyone now stagnating in behind. And Asicom now into the WOR Champion chicane. He doesn't say go. He's still waiting, still waiting. I think it's going to be towards the start-finish line. He'll say go. Kaufalidis right in the back, and now he says go. Asicom away, and Kaufalidis caught napping, and Jerry side by side with them in towards turn number 1. Jerry down the inside line, trying to get the job done. They make contact through turn number 1. Now on the outside of turn number 2. Asicom leads the way still from Jerry in second, Kaufalidis in third. But Jerry gets the job done. Brilliant stuff. And he actually nearly goes in the back of Asicom while getting the move done. Asicom in first, Jerry in second. Kaufalidis in third. Kaufalidis caught absolutely napping, and now he's under pressure from Stefan around the outside of turn 5.
Yeah, Seth trying to go around the outside. Nemaya's got the move done on Harry as well, is onto this fight. And here comes Jerry for the lead down the inside. From last to first for Jerry, if he can get this move done. Beautiful. Down the inside, and he does. Lovely move from Jerry in the Alfa Romeo. What a race it has been for Jerry today, from last on the grid. In the most unconventional circumstances, he now leads. Here comes Kaufalidis. Kaufalidis, this is going to be really late on the brakes, but he is going to be kicking himself there. There's more contact further down. Stefan Nemaya, I think, making contact. Nemaya's made the way through. Nemaya somehow is going to salvage a podium out of all of this. No idea how. And now it's a fight between Jerry, Kaufalidis and Nemaya for the win of this race. Not that they're all in DRS range of one another, but yeah, that is yeah, there you go. That has to come down 3 places already in this race. But yeah, Jerry, if he can hold on to this in these final 2 laps, what a performance of the season if he can hold on to it.
Yeah, Harry down the inside line of Asicom in towards turn number 1, and Asicom's gone too deep in towards turn number 1. He absolutely obliterates going over the curb, and now Asicom right down the back of the field. That's his race run. Jerry leads the way. Kaufalidis there in second. Nemaya there in third. I'm sure we've got some Miltos fans there in the chat. Kaufalidis now has got to up his pace. He's got 44% of VRS, 8 tenths of a second. Jerry looks like he's in a different league at this stage. He looks like he's in PSGL compared to WOR at this stage. Jerry leads the way. Kaufalidis in second, Nemaya there in third, front 3 pulling away. This potentially is going to be our podium, but remember, Aiden, Jerry may have a steward's penalty potentially coming his way after this race.
Yeah, there's potential, like you say, for that penalty after that contact with Nemaya. We'll see what comes of that one. But, of course, Nemaya wants to get as many places as he can, because he could be leading the championship after this race. If he gains, I think if he stays third, I don't think he'll be leading, but if he gets second, he will. So that is one thing to note.
No, he
Does
will.
He want to be lead? He will get it in third, will he? If that is the case, we'll see. I think he's 30, is he 13 points behind? I think it was 13, wasn't he, behind? So 13. Yeah, he will. Yeah, he will get it even if he's third. But look at him on the back of Kaufalidis. He's got a great run out of the chicane. He's been so good through that chicane all race long. Not quite close enough, though, to make the move as we head on to the final lap. The DRS is available, but I don't think Kaufalidis looks like he's really close enough to challenge.
Oh, I think he's actually gaining, to be honest, through the first sector. And at this moment in time, Jerry now looks like the one being put under pressure. That does it, though. Kaufalidis has got 2 wide coming through turns 3 and 4, and that should be it. Jerry's going to win this race out on track, I think. But Nemaya now right on the back. The Greek man and the Spaniard. We come to this once again. They were in first and second in qualifying. Now going to be second and third, potentially in the race. But this is going to be a fight to the death between them both. Now through the right-hander of turn 7, through the left-hander of turn number 8, as a cloud really begins to build over the circuit as well. The Kaufalidis gets a really good run out the corner. He's got to settle it into the hairpin, but whether or not he can hold him down the straight remains to be seen. Nemaya's running out of puff, and actually Harry neatly locks up into the back of Nemaya there, into the hairpin. Jerry, though, has done absolutely brilliantly out on track from a last to first. This has been an absolute insane drive. The Alfa Romeo on the run down and toward the wall of champion chicane. This is performance of the season coming in here for the Talon Factory man through the final corner on the race towards the line. Jerry now on the race to the line is going to win, and Kauflides makes a mistake, and Nemaya forced towards the pit wall, and Nemaya's going to get second. He steals it by 0.04 of a second. Jerry takes the win though. Nemaya there in second, Kauflides in third. Kauflides, I think, went too deep in toward the wall of champion chicane.
Yeah, he did. He outbroke himself. I don't know how he made that mistake, but Kauflides just under no pressure from anyone behind, outbroke himself, missed the corner. Yeah, and a great opportunity to move there for Nemaya to pick that one off. But what a race from Jerry that is. That is, for me, even with that mistake and that bit of an incident with Nemaya, I think it's very 50-50, so we don't know what's going to come of it. But either way, even without that, that is performance of the season from Jerry. From last to first, having not taken part in qualifying, what a performance. What an absolutely brilliant performance from Jerry.
Absolutely brilliant from Jerry indeed. Looking there, Mitsaldo saying, Jerry, give the place back. Potentially going to end up in the steward room, I think, in terms of that. But Jerry takes the win out on track. 16th to first, no matter what your opinion of him is, no matter what he did with Nemaya earlier on in the race, in the end it came down to who wanted it most out on track. It came down to who had the pace. Jerry had the pace. I know he joined in qualifying. We'll talk about that a little bit later on, because he might have just tried to glitch the game in terms of this race win. But regardless, this was done on performance, this was done on pace, and Jerry takes the race win. The Talon Factory man out on top. Great drive though from in behind. Obviously Kauflides nipped by the line to second by Nemaya, and in the end Jerry on the grid, 16th up the first, Nemaya there in second in the end. Somehow, recovery of the season, I think, from Nemaya. Kauflides there in third, Steph there in fourth, Krypton in the end fastest up the race. He gets that extra point, I think, there in fifth, Harry there in sixth, Line Varlet, whether decent or not, he finished in seventh, Smalley there in eighth, Aquila there in ninth, and then Asacom ran off the top 10. What could have it been for Asacom if he decided to come in the pit lane? May have been up there towards the back end, towards the front end of the field, right at the back end of this race. Jake Marsh retiring out of the race along with Tim, Frankie, Aroka, Jeff and Jensen, season 12 champion, right down the back of the field. The first retirement out on track, not his day. To be fair, he did say on Twitter it wasn't going to be his day. Jerry though out on top, Nemaya in second, Kauflides in third, and that was an absolute cracker in Canada.
Yeah, that was a brilliant race. That was so much fun to watch. That was a really, really good race. There's going to be a couple of stewards reports coming from that one, but either way, that was a really, really interesting race, and that obviously now puts Nemaya in the lead of the championship. And I think that is the first time this season that Rowan hasn't led the championship since round 2, I potentially believe, isn't it? Since I think Jensen led after the first round, and then after the second round it was Rowan. So new championship leader in Nemaya now, and that is a great recovery performance, like you say, having had that spin earlier on in the race as well. So yeah, great stuff from Nemaya. And again, second time this season, open door for Jensen. Of course, maybe Jensen doesn't like this track as much, but he put himself down in that position in qualifying by not going out on the inters at the end, and then he crashed all by himself in the race. Second time this season there's been an open goal for Jensen to close in on Rowan, and he's not taken it.
Yeah, as it provisionally stands, by the way, I've got the standings up from coming into tonight anyways on the right-hand side of me. Done some quick maths. Nemaya will lead the way on 86 points going into next week, of course, in Italy. Second will still be Rowan on 81 points. Jensen will not be third, it'll be Kauflides in third. He will have 71 points. Jensen in fourth on 65. That is how it's going to be, I think, into next week, barring, of course, any penalties. If Jerry's penalty gets applied, maybe 3 seconds, maybe 5 seconds, who knows what could be given for that. If that is the case, and Jerry obviously does get a penalty, then it brings Kauflides potentially into play for going into second in the championship. So that is going to be fascinating, I think. In fact, actually, I've just done the maths. He's not going to be second in the championship. He'll certainly be third in the championship regardless. Jensen there will be in fourth on 65 points after another DNF out on track. But yeah, potential for a few penalties coming the way. We have really enjoyed it, bringing you the action live, and of course getting the action to you through the PS4 for once, rather than OBS. So it's been fun, obviously, doing the stream. As we're going to run through the calendar towards the end, we'll normally put it up at this stage. The calendar going into next week, we are in Italy, which it doesn't say what track we're at. I'm guessing we're in Monza next week. I hope we are. If not, it's Imola. It's Italy regardless. Next week, what do you think we can expect next week? Will Rowan potentially be back to try and retake that championship lead?
We'll have to wait and see. He potentially could be, like you say, about to take that championship lead. It'll be interesting to see what he can do on a week back if he is coming back. But yeah, championship. The championship now is looking very interesting, isn't it? It's looking quite it's very different to how it was coming in. Nemaya obviously leading the way, Rowan's still in second, and Jensen's gone from a championship front runner and a favourite to kind of an outsider now, hasn't he? He's gone into championship wise now with Nemaya leading, and now Carafilli is up to third. So yeah, it's not been a good night for Jensen, really hasn't, and he's going to have to bounce back big style next time out if he wants really to still be a part of this championship fight.
Yeah, definitely so, indeed. I'm just trying to have a look through the thumbnails, by the way, for next week. It says it's Italy. Still don't know what track it is. It is... That looks like it's Imola, I think. I think it's actually Imola, because I can see Variante Alta, and I can see what looks like the Tamburello chicane. So I think we're in Imola next week, rather than Monza. So if we are in Imola next week, what can the drivers expect going into next week? Because it is, of course, one of the most historic tracks on the F1 calendar.
Yeah, it definitely is. I think we'll give a preview for both, just in case. I would say Imola's going to be interesting. There's a lot of corners. It's kind of similar to Canada in a way with how the track is. A lot of fast chicanes, a lot of quick corners. Of course, you don't have the walls, but you do have the grass and the gravel at Imola, so it is a difficult track to really master. And if it's Monza, straight line speed. It's all going to be about straight line speed, isn't it? And trying to work your way through the trains and getting through those chicanes cleanly. Racing side by side at Monza is very difficult. So either way, it's going to be an interesting race. Italy always has really, really good racetracks. It's a great country for racetracks, so it'll be a great race either way.
Yeah, definitely so. Savage Gaming, by the way, in the chat there saying great race. Mitzal saying Jerry broke the rules. Of course, we'll update you on that next week. Hopefully, we'll back to be on Facecam next week as well. It's all dependent on whether Windows updates my laptop, unfortunately. That's why we had technical difficulties, if you didn't know, and that's why my OBS was just absolutely tanking in terms of lag and everything. So obviously decided best it would be to stream through PS4. Forza Brendan also giving you the gold.
Well, thank you, Brendan. I definitely didn't pay him to do that, but thank you, Brendan, for that one. That's really sweet of him. But yeah, that's looking forward to next week. This championship is really hotting up now, isn't it? I think it looked like a 2-horse race earlier on this season, and now it's looking like potentially a 4-horse race. Yeah,
definitely. So it is going to be very fascinating to see what's going to happen. Hopefully, as I say, in Imola or Monza next week. We'll be in Italy regardless, and big thank you, of course, to Mr. Aidan Cost for joining me in the commentary box. As always, a big thank you, by the way, to everyone that tuned in from home or from wherever you might be watching this race. Really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, like, comment, subscribe, tick that notification bell, of course, if you're new. All the links are in the description if you do want to join WOR. We have only got about 8 rounds left in the championship, so about the halfway stage at this point. If you do, though, want to have a look at the music that we use, of course, for the intro, not obviously on tonight's stream, but obviously for the intro and for the trailer music, it's all there, as well as our sponsors, of course, Sim Staff, who do very good careers as well, and Grid Finder, and of course Next Level Racing. They're all our sponsors there down in the description below, so you can check out our partners in WOR. Big thank you, though, as I say, to Mr. Aidan Carter for joining me in the commentary box. We're going to see you, of course, next week in Italy. Regardless, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.